The biggest change in B2B over the last decade isn't AI, ads, or automation. It's when the sale actually happens. The sale used to happen on a sales call. Now it happens long before the call. Buyers form opinions long before they ever speak to you, yet most companies only start trying to persuade once the meeting begins. So by the time you're explaining what you do, the decision is already half made. That's why you've probably been met by prospects ghosting you, saying, "I'll think about it," negotiating on price, or constantly comparing you to competitors. The businesses growing consistently right now aren't chasing attention, they're accumulating trust. And because of that, the role of a founder has quietly changed. It used to be to run the company. Now, it's to represent it. And the way you do that is by building a powerful and authoritative personal brand online. So today, I'll share the exact system anyone can use to build a six-figure or more personal brand, and how I've personally generated millions from my own personal brand without any complicated automation or cringe content. Now look, I've been building my personal brand over the last 5 years, and I've got tens of thousands of followers on social media. But the thing is, I barely go viral, and it's because I'm optimizing for qualified sales calls in our calendar, which we do a pretty good job of. Typically, we have 45 or so of these on average every month that come from my personal brand, and they're also warm and inbound, so our close rates on them are pretty good. We know for every single one of these that we book, maybe we'll sign 15% of them. So for every 100 of these calls, typically we might sign 15 clients, and these are high ticket, right? For context, I generate about 5 million views per year, which is great because it also brings me things like podcast opportunities, speaking engagements, sponsorships, etc. So look, if you're anything like most founders I speak to, the most frustrating part isn't that you're bad at what you do. You know you're good, but the market doesn't seem to realize it yet. You're getting on calls where you have to re-explain everything from scratch. Deals are stalling at "we're exploring options." Maybe a competitor you know is worse but is winning because they just felt safer. And that's the real problem most businesses face right now. It's trust. As I said, I don't really go viral that often. I've just got a system that I can rely on week in, week out. And it's taken me 5 years to build it. But now we've mastered the system, and I'm going to show you how to get results way quicker than that. And by the end of today, you will understand how to build a wildly successful personal brand online. The truth is, right now, what I'm seeing from my own experience, and this isn't just something I've personally experienced, it's a structural shift happening across almost every industry, is that more and more entrepreneurs and businesses are struggling than ever from a lack of opportunities. What used to happen is you'd get introduced, you'd jump on a call, explain what you do, and the deal moved forward. But now the decision has started before you even speak. By the time they reach you, they've researched you, they've compared you, and they've quietly formed an opinion of you. So I'm seeing this. I'm also seeing that ads costs are going up. Competition is getting more and more fierce every single day, and clients have almost just stopped buying. Sales cycles are getting longer, and scrutiny has skyrocketed. And what that means is that your acquisition starts to dry up. Your prices are being squeezed, and you're starting to see declining profits and maybe even a lack of cash flow. And you're not sure sometimes where the next client is actually going to come from. And it sucks. I know it sucks because you have a great product. Your offer is a no-brainer, but you just feel constantly overlooked, whilst your competitors, who maybe aren't even as good as you, seem to be doing okay. All of a sudden, what you were doing previously just doesn't seem to be working anymore. So today, I'm going to show you a system that will help you become the go-to in your space and help you start to sign high-value clients. It's going to work regardless of how big your audience currently is, your budget, or the industry you're in. And you won't have to spend hours making complex funnels or discounting your price in order to get people over the line. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to look at the trust gap that is slowing down your sales, the 3-step trust building system that me and my clients use to build trust with our audience at scale, how to establish premium positioning, the actual steps you need to take to build trust at scale, and how to sign high value clients. And look, I honestly think this is the greatest opportunity we've ever had as entrepreneurs, but I also think it's one of the hardest times to be an entrepreneur. Why do I think that? Well, because trust is at an all-time low. In fact, PwC have been studying trust for the last few years. And in a study where they asked business execs how much their audience they think actually trust their company, 90% of business execs thought they were highly trusted by consumers. But actually, the same consumers, only 30% of them highly trust the companies, creating this 60-point trust gap between how much we think our consumers trust us and how much they actually do. So businesses think they're being evaluated on capability. In reality, you're being evaluated on familiarity. And familiarity is built long before your first conversation. And trust is only getting worse. This is up from 57 points in the 2 years prior to this study. And that's because the world looks very different today to what it did maybe 10, 20 years ago. Every market is becoming more and more accessible. There have been gurus that have been lying for years, and customers are just more skeptical than ever. It's no wonder PwC actually call trust the new currency for business. business. And that's why you're pretty much lighting your money on fire if all you're doing is what I call push marketing. It's met with a wall of skepticism, no matter how much you spend or send. And of course, I'm not saying these strategies never work, right? Of course they do. But ask yourself this: when was the last time you bought a product worth over $1,000 directly from an ad? You probably didn't, right? You probably did extensive research. And Google actually proved this with their 7-11-4 rule. They analyzed over 1 billion data points and found that to turn a stranger into a buyer, it takes at least 7 hours of interaction across 11 separate touch points in 4 different locations. What does this all mean? Well, quite frankly, it means the more people that trust you, the more sales you are going to make. It is that simple. But the thing about trust is that trust has to be earned, and the way you earn trust is through repeated positive interactions. So take a moment to think about your own marketing system. You're probably doing one of 2 types of marketing right now. You're probably doing a push marketing that I mentioned before, or maybe you're doing no marketing at all. So really, you're left with 2 options. You can compete on price and you can continue to discount in a race to the bottom, or you can slowly fizzle out. Actually, you do have one more option. You can build trust at scale and become the go-to authority in your industry by using your personal brand. Because whilst your market might be crowded, no one can replicate you. What's more, people actually trust other people way more than they trust faceless companies. This is literally ingrained into our evolutionary psychology. We are meant to trust other humans. And this is why 2 equally skilled founders can pitch the same solution, and one gets the premium fees and high conversion rates, whilst the other faces price pressure and comparison. The difference isn't necessarily competence, it's the pre-existing trust. With the right steps though, you can start to build that trust up. And honestly, this is nothing new. We've been relying on humans to build trust. It's just in 2005, you spent $10 million sponsoring David Beckham in order to do it. Between 2010 and 2015, we pivoted more towards influencers, and then it was creators as the digital world started to emerge. Then it was micro creators in the 2020s, but actually the opportunity from 2025 to 2035 is with personal brands. People want to consume content from the people behind a business. And that's why today you are the #1 marketing channel for your company. It's no wonder all the biggest and most successful entrepreneurs spend hundreds of thousands doing this. And the stats back it up as well. 81% of people actually trust a company when their senior management team are active on social media. Global executives believe up to 45% of company value is attributable to the CEO's reputation. And 86% of people say the CEO's reputation impacts their decision to work with a provider. In a study we ran, we also found that over 51% of people would pay at least 5 times more for someone that they trusted as an industry leader. In a separate study, we found that 100% of people who'd focused on building their personal brand saw an increase in new business opportunities. Now look, the system that I'm going to teach you today, it won't require a 20-person PR team. You can actually do it yourself in 5 to 10 hours per week, but you need the right system in order to do it. And please don't say you don't have 5 to 10 hours per week to dedicate to the most important thing in your business, because I know firsthand how effective this can be. I started building my personal brand actually as a 19-year-old student. Now, of 60,000 followers later, millions of dollars made online, working with 350 odd clients and featuring in the likes of Sky News, Global Podcasts, Business Insider. I know firsthand how effective this can be. It's not just the kind of headlines that you see there that make it so powerful, it's actually allowed me to generate new business opportunities every single month, hit up to 40% conversion rates on some of our high ticket offers, and despite actually not being that good at sales, signed 7, 8 and 9-figure brands as clients. And I'm in the fortunate position now where I know I'll get leads for my business every single week. I'm visible and credible in my industry, and I have an audience I can sell to almost any time I like. And as I said, I don't use any wildly complicated strategies. I don't have an enormous ad budget, and I do it without selling my soul. I do all of it with my LinkedIn profile and a few hours per week. And LinkedIn really is the best place to do this because, well, it's home to 61 million senior level influencers as well as 10 million C-level executives. It drives 277% more B2B leads than Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. What's more, personal profiles, especially founders and execs, get 10 times more reach. And on LinkedIn, users have double the buying power of Facebook users. Plus, anyone can start posting today without a fancy camera setup, without a 10-person media team, or without a huge ad budget. So the systems I'm going to teach you today are the same systems that have helped our clients like Sean go from 4,000 to 27,000 followers, selling out his accelerator twice and generating 4 million impressions in the process. They helped Debbie generate 10 million impressions. Ollie built a multi-6-figure pipeline and landed speaking engagements. Anna generated over 5,000 new followers, and Joe's hit millions of views and record months with a 6-figure pipeline. And all of these results results are from the same 3-step system. Anyone can start this today. This is going to help you 10x your visibility, become the #1 authority in your industry, and add 6 figures to your pipeline in the next 180 days. And the way we're going to do this is by first getting clarity on your brand and positioning you as an industry leading figure. That's going to help us build trust and increase conversion rates and help you land higher paying clients. Then we'll amplify your expertise to millions of people and build your audience, create a credible online presence and start to generate those opportunities. And then you'll effortlessly convert that newfound reputation into meaningful opportunities through our authority building ecosystems. So how does this work? I'm going to walk you through this exact system today. The first step that you need to get right is what we call positioning. This is how you get buy-in before you even produce a piece of content. It is hands down the most underappreciated aspect of building a personal brand. It is the one that consistently separates the profitable brands from the unprofitable ones. If you build your personal brand on a solid foundation of positioning, everything else you do will be 10 times more effective. And honestly, one of the reasons why maybe you're not dominating your industry right now is because you're not seen as a leading figure in the space. And that means you're constantly overlooked and don't get the opportunities, the clients, or the rates that you deserve. And the reason this is so important is because the messenger matters. So who says something matters just as much as what they said. If you want people to listen to you, you need to be seen as someone worth listening to. And I know this to be true because if I ask you, out of these two guys, who would you rather trust for investment advice? I can bet my bottom dollar who you're going to say. Right? You're going to say Warren Buffett, not Dave from down the pub. We don't know Dave from down the pub, right? He might be an expert on investments, but he's not positioned as such. You choose the person who is positioned as the authority. And that's why nearly 90% of people are more likely to trust your company if a senior leader is a recognized expert. And the biggest mistake I see is just thinking, I'll focus on my product and everything else will work itself out. Simply being good at what you do is just table stakes nowadays. If people don't know your true value, they'll presume you're just like everyone else. And actually, there are 3 mistakes that are plaguing personal brands when it comes to their positioning. What people don't realize is that to the public, it's not clear what you do, it's not clear why you're credible, and often it's not clear how to actually work with you. And that means you keep getting overlooked whilst lower quality competitors are sweeping up mindshare in your industry. But if you can solve all of that, you'll get the 3 elements of world-class positioning in place. So to be seen as an authority, to actually generate opportunities through your personal brand, you have to make 3 things clear. You have to make clear your promise. This is like your own personal value proposition, what people are actually going to get out of working with you. Humans are inherently selfish, and if there's not a clear transformational result that people are going to get out of following you, out of consuming your content, or out of knowing you, then they're not going to give you their attention in the first place. But also you've got to back that up with proof, right? Proof that you are somebody worth listening to. There are, truthfully, going to be lots of people in your industry that deliver the same or a similar transformation and have similar promises to you, but none of them will have exactly the same proof points you do. So these might be milestones and results that you've achieved in the past that give you credibility as someone that can speak on this particular topic. And finally, you have to package all of this up in a way that is engaging and easy for your audience to understand, in a way that differentiates you from everyone else in the industry. And if you don't have these things clear across your LinkedIn profile, for example, you are literally wasting money. You wouldn't run ads to an unoptimized website, right? So not having these 3 things clear on your profile and then going out and creating content or doing outreach, it's kind of like running ads to an unoptimized website. You just wouldn't do it. In the modern day, your LinkedIn profile is actually like your own business card, pitch deck, website, all in one. So you don't want to be going to the effort of creating content, putting yourself out there if these things aren't clear on the profile. They need to be immediately and abundantly clear. You can see some of these elements on my profile, such as the tagline, right? The promise that I've got in my cover photo. And it's immediately and abundantly clear who I help, what I help them do, and why I'm worth listening to on this subject. You need to have the same. And once you've got that, you're going to be in a great place to start amplifying it and getting it out to the world. And that brings us on to the second part of our process, which is amplification, the process of getting our positioning in front of as many people as we can. And the best way to do this is through posting content. Now, a lot of people, they think, I don't need to post content, my work will do the talking. Truth is, just doing great work doesn't cut it anymore. A lot of people are doing great work and you won't stand out in that sea of competition. The reality is you have to do the talking for your work over and over again. And content really is the best place to do this because it's kind of like a 24/7 salesperson. Content will speak to more people in a day than you possibly can in a lifetime. It doesn't get sick, it doesn't take leave, it doesn't need a salary, it doesn't need meetings, and it works around the clock. It is like the engine of your reputation. Producing content is the best investment you can make and one of the most important skills that business leaders must learn in the modern day. Why? Well, because as I said, you are the #1 ambassador for your business, and content allows you to scale yourself. Every high quality piece of content you put out is an asset that is working for you and building your personal brand in the background. If you don't publish any content, well, you will never reach the top of your industry. If you do manage to produce a consistent basis of high quality content, you'll be able to reach, influence, and persuade millions of people at scale. You'll be able to turn those connections you're building into clients. And look, best case from this, you generate a consistent stream of inbound leads and opportunities. Absolute worst case from this, you'll build an audience of people who might refer their friends and advocate for you. Both of those sound like pretty good options to me. But of course, just posting content is not enough. Just post is terrible advice, because we live in a far more competitive world than we did maybe 15 years ago, where that would have worked, to be honest with you. Consumers today, though, are more skeptical than ever, so we need the right types of content to truly build our personal brand. If we just post, well, you get average content, blend in, which means you get no results, you don't get any clients off the back of it, and you give up and start again. That's why just posting is terrible advice. Let's look at how we actually produce content that drives real results though. Well, really, it's a shockingly simple 3-step system that you just need to understand. And when we build personal brands and strategies for our clients, this is the exact content framework we use. Because really all we need to do when we post content is 3 things. We need to get in front of new people, we need to build trust with those people, and we need to convert them into conversations, or the next step. And every time I post one of these 3 types of content, they're constantly working for me in the background. Whether I'm in meetings, I'm in the gym, on holiday with my family, they're building my visibility and credibility on autopilot. Not only do they generate pretty cool results like these and get us in front of lots of people, but they're also able to actually drive the things that really matter. So what are the 3 things we need to do? As I said, we need to get in front of new people. So we need to get new people who don't already know we exist to become aware of us. The first thing that has to happen for somebody ultimately to work with you is they have to know that you exist. So the first type of content we've got to post is content just to get new people into that pool of people within our sphere of influence. We've then got to build trust with that pool of people that already knows who we are, because them just knowing you is not enough, right? It's a great way to have hundreds of thousands of followers but an empty bank account, which is not what we want, right? And then we simply have to nudge them towards buying from us, or nudge them towards working with us, right? Whatever that next conversion step is. And if we do these 3 things, you'll be building a profitable personal brand. And there are 3 types of content that we use in order to do that. We start with what we call growth content, which is pretty broadly targeted. You want it to be relevant to everyone in your industry, because this is really just aimed at increasing the pool of people that knows who we are. So we actually do care about things like engagement and views here. And the more engagement we can get by making our content more accessible, the more views we're going to be able to accumulate. So we don't want to be talking about things that are completely irrelevant to our product or our service and our audience, but we do need to be slightly more broad than just speaking exclusively to our ICP here. Personal stories are a great example of this sort of content. Really, you just want it to be easy to engage with, because your goal is to grow the audience. You're not worried about converting people at this stage. Once we've then increased the pool of people that knows we exist, we of course want to build trust with them, and we do that through authority content. And this is slightly more targeted. It's going to be more targeted specifically at your niche within the industry that you're targeting. Here we're talking things like thought leadership, insights on things that happen in your industry, frameworks that you're using, maybe predictions, and we're not necessarily worried about going crazy viral with this sort of content. It's more about demonstrating your expertise, because our sole aim is to build trust with that pool of people that already knows who we are. And that puts us in a great position to publish conversion content and actually generate leads off the back of it. And this content should be hyper specific to your ICP. It's narrowly targeted, and our sole aim here is to generate leads. So we're not worried necessarily about going viral or getting loads and loads of views. So here you're talking things like social proof, case studies, milestones, lead magnets, things that are actually going to get people to the next stage of working with you. And if you publish those 3 types of content, you'll be building your audience, building authority, and building your pipeline at the same time. The only thing that doesn't work is hoping. Hoping is not a strategy. So not posting at all and just waiting for referrals or clients to stumble across you, it just doesn't work. Posting aimlessly and hoping also doesn't work. You have to publish content, but you have to publish it strategically. And if you don't, well, you're missing out on hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on your business every single month. You're not going to be building trust with the right people, and you're going to be letting your competitors sweep up that all-important mind share from your audience. Once we've done this, we're building our audience, we're building authority, we're in a great position to actually start converting our connections into clients. Now, if you've nailed your positioning and your content, you'll probably already have a few leads coming out to you organically, through DMs perhaps. But if you never have a conversion system in place, you're going to be missing out on potential opportunities. Because personal brand is kind of like dating, right? Most people either never propose or they propose on the first date. What that means is they never offer to help people because they're afraid of being too pushy, or they spam their audience with first message sales pitches and put them off straight away. People just do not want to be spammed straight away. However, you do need to provide opportunities for them to engage with you and ultimately buy from you. And the reason this is so important is that if you don't do this, you will only ever convert about 3% of your market. These are what we call now buyers. These are the people that are ready to go. They're already on the edge of wanting to work with something, and they've seen your content. These are the people that are going to reach out and message you in the DMs. About 30 to 35% of people might buy in the future. They just need to take the right steps, or maybe they're not quite ready to buy right now. The most profitable personal brands I know all understand this, and it's due to something called the commitment gap. So producing content, publishing content, consuming content on LinkedIn, for example, it's very low commitment, right? You can do it for free in a matter of seconds or minutes, maybe from the comfort of your own home, without ever having to actually talk to anyone. It's very low commitment. Everyone can do it very easily, whereas spending maybe 4, 5, even 6 figures working with you is extremely high commitment. And a lot of people in this 30 to 35% might buy in the future category just haven't quite made that jump in commitment yet. And they can't cross that commitment gap on their own. They need to be nurtured through the process. Somehow we expect them just to do it on their own, but actually we need to provide gradual increases in the amount of commitment they're making to us over time, to the point where they are ready to invest a significant sum of money in potentially working with us. Rather than expecting to make that commitment all in one go, we're going to gradually increase the commitment they make over time. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to get appointments that are actually warm and have higher conversion rates and pay us good rates. We do all of this with something called the Thought Leader funnel. And whilst this is called a funnel, we actually treat it more like an ecosystem, right? We don't treat it as most people typically treat their funnels, which is one directional, siloed from everything else they do. The cost of that is that someone either becomes a client or they don't become a client. If they do become a client, to be honest, it's going to be a very low conversion rate. Anyway, if they don't, well, they leave your world. They don't amount to anything meaningful ever again. But with our funnel though, where we treat it like an ecosystem, we're optimizing it such that if someone doesn't become a client now, they become a client later. If they don't become a client later, they will refer somebody who will. We build up that much goodwill by creating this highly valuable ecosystem of bingeable content that when the time's right, well, we'll be there for them. If the time's not right, well, they'll still speak highly of us. So how does it work? Well, we start by producing content across social media, of course, and this generates traffic. We need to capture the interest from those future buyers, the people who might be interested in working with us. They have the problem we solve, right? They're just not quite ready yet. So we send them to things like landing pages where we can offer highly valuable resources in exchange for contact information. They might submit a form in order to get access to our lead magnets and solve the particular problem they have. Now, at this point, this is really, really important. They're pretty much putting up their hands and saying, hey, I have the problem you solve. I'm just not quite ready to pay you that much yet. And this is what they're saying when they submit that form, right? In exchange for submitting the form, which is a slightly higher commitment than consuming our LinkedIn content at that point, we want to send them access to the thing that they've requested, right? But before we do that, we're actually going to redirect them to a sales page or a calendar booking page. Now, depending on your offer and your business, this is where you can either book people in to speak with you, or you can push them directly to buy your product. In the background, we're of course sending them the resource or the lead magnet that they've requested. It's going to solve their problem and build up more goodwill. Of course, the idea is that they then buy or book a call, and we can send them to a thank you page, and we can nurture them to the point where they're actually inside our product or service or on a call with us. In the meantime though, what we're doing in the background is we're constantly sending out high value content to them to nurture them up to that process if they haven't already booked. We've got their contact information, so we can now nurture them through email every week and gradually increase the commitment that they're willing to make to us. And all of the resources we share are constantly linking to each other, constantly linked to our calendar booking page. There are a number of different touch points that someone might use, a number of different opportunities to convert these connections into clients. And once we have a system like this in place, well, we really only need to focus on a couple of things. We've got to focus on increasing the number of people that enter the ecosystem in the first place, because if we increase that number, all other things being equal, we're going to get more people buying out the back end. Or we can spend some time fine-tuning the system and the conversion rate by maybe 1 or 2% to get more out for the same number of people in. And this creates a huge amount of leverage and predictability in our businesses. And this really is the whole system that we use to reach new people, build trust with them, and convert that trust into money at scale. And if you're wondering whether this will work for you, it's already been proven in a number of industries, even highly niche ones like shipping and procurement. How do I know? Well, we've worked with clients in all of these spaces and we've achieved some amazing results for them. Like Mike, for example, who was able to generate £20,000 of business within a few months of doing this. Like Joe, who generated a consistent stream of leads into his inbox. Gemma, who saw a 51,000% increase in views. And look, I could list off a load more of these examples and show you all of the amazing results we've been able to achieve through this system. And really, I show you all of these just to make one thing clear, and that's that this is possible for you as well. Anyone can do this with the right system that you have now got today. So ask yourself this: what would life be like if you had a consistent stream of new opportunities and leads coming to you every single week, willing to pay you 10 times more? Probably wouldn't do any harm, right? But in order to truly see the benefit of this, you have to start with a solid positioning strategy, a really strong profile, and a really strong content strategy. This is the difference between success and months of wasted time, missed opportunities, and quite frankly, embarrassment. So if you want help building this properly, not just guessing your way through it, we actually offer strategy sessions where we will map this specifically to your business. On our call, we'll discuss your personal brand and business goals over the next 90 days to 1 year, and we'll talk through an action plan to see how potentially we can help you become your industry's go-to thought leader. The real benefit of this isn't just generating leads, it's walking into conversations where the hard part is already done, where prospects and people in your network understand your thinking, respect your expertise, and aren't trying to figure out whether you're actually credible, only whether the timing is right for them. And just to be clear, this isn't for everyone, right? If you're looking for a quick tactic or a posting schedule, this probably won't make sense for us to do. This only works if you want a long-term acquisition channel that you can control. Now look, we are limited on the number of these calls we can take simply by calendar space, so please only book if you're serious about investing in your personal brand and committing to your growth. If that's you, well, we're looking forward to speaking to you very soon.